Can you hear me? Yes, cool. Thank you, guys. Sorry for the technical issues. Uh, can someone talk? I can't hear anyone voice here. Okay, I think maybe it's muted. I can't hear anyone voice. So let's wait one more minute and let's start at 11:05 or 11:06. Okay, that's good. Yeah, if you have any questions, drop in the chat. We'll share. We'll start the meeting in a minute. Cool. Uh, just give me one minute. Can you hear me now? It's good. Okay, good. Yeah, I think um, let's start. Let me share my screen. Mm, I think it's already started recording. Unable to hear. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, yeah, that's what I want. And there is no echo, right? Okay, let me share my screen. And that screen. Okay. Let me know if you guys are able to see my screen. I think, yeah. So, hi everyone. Thank you for joining with us. And this is Venkatesh, working at bitsIO as a Splunk consultant. Today, we'll discuss about the ES updates, the new updates that came in, and the use cases of AI assistant in the ES. Okay, and then let's go to our agenda like introduction about me, like what we'll discuss today, and then we'll have an ES8 overview, and then taxonomy and the terminology changes that we had in the latest version ES8, and then the case management updates and detection ordering updates, and finally we'll go through the AI assistant in security and its use cases. And just want to mention one thing, due to a technical glitch, we are unable to share just the AI assistant in a live demo, but everything I can show you up in the enterprise security app. Okay, so let's look at ES8. So as the image shows here, it has the best features and the integrations from the Splunk security products like mission control, threat intel, and threat intel management and Splunk SOAR. So so now why customers should upgrade? So we have improved case management system, enhanced detection, ordering capabilities, native source integration, and updated taxonomy and terminology for security analysts. And organizations benefit from enhanced threat detection, and you will have a faster incident response and more intuitive user experience. So let's now dive into the core features. Okay, so ES targets three categories to provide unified threat detection and incident response experience. So these are the main enhancements under each category, and we will deep dive into each of these shortly. So let's go to the use case. Uh, under case management system. So under case management, we have an integration of mission control into ES, standardized and simplified terminology. So simplified workflows for starting investigation and managing investigations can be done under the case management. And we have a threat intel summary added as a side panel under investigations. So this is the major improvement compared to the previous versions of ES. And previously it was an adaptive response action, but in ES8 you can see directly in the side panel. Okay. Under direction authoring, we have two newly designed editors. One is event-based filtering, and other is finding-based detection. And we have advanced detection versioning capabilities, which clearly define the relationships and the rollbacks. So if you want to have two different kind of queries, you can have that, and you can see like how we see in the Git, you can directly see those versioning capabilities here. And we have side by side diffing for detections. Under SOAR, we have SOAR pairing direct integration with Splunk Enterprise Security with simple setup. And within few clicks, you can have the SOAR containers can be easily accessible from ES. So to have this particular kind of integration, you need to have the SOAR license, and the SOAR license is not free. Only the customers who has the SOAR license can integrate that with the ES. Okay. So now let's dive into the taxonomy and terminology updates. ES8 introduced a new taxonomy that significantly improves the analyst experience by aligning to the Open Security Schema Framework, which is OCSF. Under this strategic shift, um, we are aiming to streamline data correlation and provide more unified security posture for our customers. And these changes are designed to reflect industry best practices and improve clarity and consistency of security operations within ES. For example, if the terminology in the ES versus SOAR or the UBA are totally different, and Splunk is trying to make it consistent across all the platforms so that it will make intuitive navigation and more efficient instant response. And we encourage everyone to familiarize yourself with these updates to effectively guide and support our shared customers in this transition to the Splunk ES8. So now let's look at some of the case management updates. And the first feature in the case management updates is the analyst queue. This is the completely modernized user interface that replaces legacy incident review from the previous versions of ES. It offers a more intuitive and efficient case management experience. And analysts have options like the table settings, change filters, views, and column offerings more customized in their view in the modern user experience. And we have findings and intermediate findings, and findings can be correlated into single investigations in the analyst queue, and intermediate findings are not available in the queue for triage. We'll talk about it, those findings and intermediate findings shortly. I will give you an example when to use the findings and when to use the intermediate findings when you define the um, correlation searches. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So now let's look at simple analyst queue from ES8. If you see here, this is where the analysts spend most of the day triaging findings and investigations. Analysts can search, filter the queues, and create saved views with the specific filters applied based on their requirement. Finding and investigations are categorized in the queue, and we have various options here like entity, risk score, and number of findings, and the disposition, etc. And each have a small drop down icon next to them just for filtering based on our use cases, and it's makes us easy to filter and access those episodes. And after that, at the top you can see a filter called save option. So once you filter whatever the options you want, and you can save that on the top, and you will have a saved view of this particular panel. So it is very easy now to update this, and this is something similar to ITSI, like how we save the saved views in ITSI. So let's move on to the next slide. As I mentioned before, we have an analyst view side panel where analyst queue has its collapsible side left panel. As the example shown here, in previous versions, this drop down was about an incident review or analyst queue. It contains a default view and a custom save views. So, and here you can have, there are four different saved views here, and we have the risk score saved views also, where we can filter or sort it by high to low, and this could be very handy for the RBA customers. So the side panel, as I mentioned before, the analyst queue findings have the side panel now contains the threat intelligence summary, which is highlighted in this box. In the previous release, this was accessible as an adaptive response action, but as shown in this example here, it contains summary of the information regarding the threat actors, malware, tactics, and CVEs that related to the selected finding or the investigation. Okay, so now let's look at some findings. Yeah, findings replaces both notable events and risk events from previous versions of ES. They can be manually created or automatically generated by detections and are intended to provide an alert to the analyst about suspicious activity. So, finding represents one or more anomalous incidents and alerts created by event-based or finding-based detection. And there are two types of findings, regular findings and intermediate findings. So these are the main two things that you want to know here. So, so the regular findings can be triaged into an investigation, while intermediate findings cannot be triaged into an investigation. And findings record what was observed, which entity was impacted, and which relevant detection metadata it's impacted. And intermediate findings are records, or observations created by the event-based detection that integrate anomalies but might be a standalone security incident. And these intermediate findings will be assigned a risk score, and it will accumulate until a risk threshold is met to be escalated as a finding group. Then only we can see that as as an episode in the analyst queue. In simple way, if you want to understand the difference between the findings and the intermediate findings, so for example, the findings is the actual conclusion or the decision you care about, whereas intermediate findings is a single or a condition, like a signal or a condition that contributes to a conclusion. So think like this, like findings are the judgments which are final, so this needs to be alerted, that's it. Whereas intermediate findings are like the evidence. So like if you have like couple of evidences, then only you can trigger that as an episode. So you need to know when to use the findings and intermediate findings. So this is an example of a finding in the analyst queue. As you can see here, this is the user interface that's changed a lot of in the incident review. This view, before this view is at the bottom and the bottom of the notable event. Because we are having this on the side, we are saving a lot of space, and analysts can easily work on it easily without switching between the findings and the investigation. And after clicking the finding, you can have an option to start in the investigation right away here. Before it is a different way, but here now it's just you can directly click on the start investigation. After clicking the findings, you have option to start investigation. And analyst can customize certain fields such as owner, status, and urgency, and the sensitivity, or etc. disposition. And important metadata is logged here in each finding. And the analyst also have option to add notes and screenshots, but not but not they have entire other information like SOAR integrations. Like when you start investigation, then you will have those options to add the SOAR integration or run some run books. Okay, so now let's look at an investigation now. Analysts can triage findings into investigations to flag them as a cases with uh, to flag them as the cases worth exploring in more detail by using response plans and SOAR automation. Investigations now integrate mission control incidents, which are now directly available in the ESQ. If the customer already has a mission control, those incidents will automatically displayed on the analyst queue, and analysts can create investigation by triaging individual findings. Multiple findings or finding groups outputted by the finding based detection. And analytics can configure ES to automatically create investigations through SOAR playbooks and actions. Let's look at a sample investigation. So we'll walk through all this in a live demo too. So now let's look at a simple investigation. And this is the screenshot that is initiated by the analyst and by the analyst. If you look at the highlighted section at the top, That's a default tab, is the overview tab, which gives a summary of all the findings, triage information like who is the owner, status, and then all those details like urgency, disposition, etc. In addition to the overview tab, there are other tabs like response tab, which contains the response plans like um, the runbook or the SOP or the SOCs for investigation, triage findings, and investigations, where event tab contains events that are created that created the findings which are part of this particular investigation. In this particular example, there are like 27 events which were contributed to the five findings that are part of this one particular investigation. And there is a search tab for running ad hoc searches without exiting the investigation view. And an automation tab has SOAR playbooks and actions run against this particular investigation. And we have the intelligence tab displays additional thread intel content related to this particular investigation and findings. So these are all the tabs that we have in a single view, and without going out of this particular incident, we can easily triage the incident. And but with AI, we can do in a minutes. I'll show you that one also. So let's move on to the detection authoring section. As I mentioned before, detection authoring has a lot of changes. We have two newly designed editors in Splunk ES8. ES8, which is event-based detections and finding-based detections. So event-based event-based detections are replacing correlation searches and correlation rules in this new ES8. So users can create event-based detections to receive Splunk events as inputs, set trigger conditions for suspicious behavior, and generate findings depending on their logic. Analysts can choose if they want their event-based detection to output a finding or intermediate finding or both. For example, if you have an asset and an identity, and you want asset to be a finding and identity to be an intermediate finding, you can do that. You can do that with the same detection. Analyst can configure detection inputs like description, SPL logic, annotations, and there is pretty much like what we do on the correlation searches. There is no much changes while defining these description, logic, or anomalous detection. And the output side, analyst can configure outputs such as details of generic findings, scores, and playbook automations. All those things we can output from this particular findings. And risk score is a mandatory requirement here from ES 8.1. All the detections should have an entity type and the risk score as part of the configuration. So when you migrate the correlation searches from the previous versions to the latest version, it will prompt you to select a risk score for all the entities as well. Now, let's look at the workflow of an event-based detections. As any alert in Splunk, it all starts with data ingestion and categorized into events, right? And detections are triggered by the events that indicate a threat. Depending on the type of the configuration, a finding or intermediate finding can both, or finding or intermediate finding or both can be created. So analytics can triage the finding into an investigation, but Intermediate findings are not displayed in the analyst queue for triaging. They have to wait until certain risk thresholds are not displayed in the queue for triaging. They have to wait until a certain risk threshold is reached for those findings, for those intermediate findings to be triggered, and then it will run as a finding-based detection. So now moving on to the finding-based detection. Finding-based detections receive both findings and intermediate findings as input and generate finding group as their output. This replaces a risk incident rules, and it is very useful for the RBA customers, and the analyst can write their logic to consider findings, intermediate findings, or combination of both. For example, if I have like 10 intermediate findings, trigger this alert, and it will list all those 10 intermediate findings as a finding group in the analytics queue. Or you could have a combination and put a risk score limit. If my risk score is like 100, trigger this alert, and this could be a and this could contain the findings and intermediate findings, or a combination of both. Under finding based detection output, let's skip this one and let's go to the finding based detection. Unlike event-based detection, finding-based detections are triggered by the collection of findings, intermediate findings, or both, as I mentioned in the previous slide, as per the threshold set on the intermediate findings. And finding-based detections generate a finding group, collection of the findings which triggered it. Just like any regular findings, the finding group can be triaged into investigation by SOC analyst, and this is very useful for the RBA customers. Got it. So yeah, findings or intermediate findings can be run into the detections, and it will be fined by the finding group, and SOC analyst can triage that into an investigation, like how we do for the event-based detections. Okay. Now, let's look at some of the version control features introduced with Splunk ES8. Detection versioning, and this can be now versioning. It's to keep track of the history of editing detections. This is similar to the Git, but natively built in Splunk. The queries will not leave the Splunk instance here. Versioning and content pipelines make it easy for SOC engineers to build and maintain a content development lifecycle. And there is an option to roll back to any version and toggle between the versions very easily, as shown in the image here. The active version here is 2.1, and you can just click on the 2.2 and switch the version. So relationships clearly connect original source to the customized detections, and the finding generator will be linked to that particular version of the detection which triggered it. For example, like if we have 2.1 version triggered a detection, and that will have a link to that particular specific version. And this features also helps to keep chain history of audit purposes, like who and what and when this detection is changed. Also, you have a diff comparison options, which shows a side-by-side diff is our next feature. Yeah. Detection diffing allows for line by line tracking, like what changes or the config changes in the configuration and the detections were made. Um, and here in the as shown in the image here, um, detections diff shows like side by side comparison clearly highlights what context or what change exactly made between these versions. We can see that clearly here. So these are the new features that we have in ES8. So now coming to the AI assistant in security and its use cases. So um, like let's say what is like AI assistant in security. So AI assistant in security is a generative AI, like it's powered by a chatbot assistant integrated into the ES 8.2 and later, not ES 8, ES 2.2, 8.2 and later, and it's only for right now. It's only for the cloud versions it is available. The AI assistant is designed to support and guide security analysts like with incident investigation and response process to finding alerts in the ES incident queue when using the investigation. And there are two different two different use cases for now here. One is finding summarization for a notable event, and we have SPL generation. What finding summarization will do is it will summarize and explain of the findings like notable event or the risk notable events and intermediate findings associated with that with an investigation in a case management workflow. Whereas SPL generation, yeah, I forgot again. Yeah. Whereas SPL generation, what it does is, like for example, if you have a query and you want to know why, I mean, like you don't know what this particular eval statement or case statement, or you don't understand the query, you just ask the AI in the ES, hey, what this exactly doing? It will clearly explain step by step using this SPL generation. And also it will for example, if you want to write a new query and with a particular use case, you can directly ask that, hey, in a simple plain English, saying that, hey, I want to trigger this kind of alert or finding. Yeah, if you want to I mean, if you want to write, you can enter a simple plain in plain English, and it will explain. I mean, it will provide you the query, but you need to update with the index source types and the event types that you want to filter. Right. So now let's go to the particular use case. So now let's see how AI assistant in the ES8 we can use for the finding summarization. So this is the this is the overview page of ES8, and then when you click next, so this is what we showed, right? For example, we clicked on one um, finding here, and here it will show the who is assigned to this particular incident and who what's the status. Everything will be shown here, and then when you click start investigation, you can click on here. When I click next, it will start investigation. This particular incident. incident from the analyst queue, and it will show what are the without AI. Without AI, analysts need to spend more time on what MITRE attacks it is related to this particular incident and what needs to be done on the next steps. But by with simple AI in this ES, what you can do here is you can it will easily summarize based on the incident we have here. So if you see here, here we have this particular AI generated report, and it will show on the right side of ES 8.2 later versions, and then click on next, and it will prompt you um, what options we have in this ES 8.5. So we want to summarize the findings. So just click on next and it will summarize the finding. First, it will discover the AI assistant skills, and then you expand it. It will summarize it here. This is what the use case we are doing. So by simply without looking at analyzing the incident, it will simply summarize the incident, the entire incident, and it will document it. When you click on next, and when you save it, this particular comment here, and it will generate entire issue about this particular investigation. Yeah, this is the generation. Just enter, and then yeah, it will generate a report. Yeah, that's it. So let me show you the enterprise security also. So this is the instance that we have. Okay, it's like that. Yeah. So when you click on the enterprise app, the first uh, the the first view which you go to the mission control, where you'll see analysts spend most of the time here by looking at the incidents. So here you can see here these symbols says that these are the findings, and when you click here, it will open on the side who is the owner and status of everything, and it will show up the threat intelligence thing also here as a on the sidebar, what threat actors are impacted this particular event. And when you want to start investigation, you can click on the investigation here. And right now we don't have that particular feature here, that's why it's not showing up here. So and then here we have notes. We can enter based on what detections, what findings we did, we can enter the notes and we can save it. And as I said, here we have response tab, event tabs, and search and automation, where we can directly integrate this particular incident with um, uh, a, a run book, and it will resolve that particular issue. And okay, yeah, those. So once since I changed to the investigation, start investigation, right? So here the title will change from findings to the investigation here. And you can configure here the SOAR integrations directly. If you have the SOAR license, you can directly integrate the SOAR here, which we are not going through that in this demo. So everything, all the correlation searches that you define here will be shown in the content management. So before we used to have many tabs, but now we are Splunk merged all these things into just 5 tabs. Yeah, and you can create a correlation search, like a detection here. Like as I said before, event-based and the finding-based detections. And the event-based, when you click submit, you'll go through all the same procedure what you follow, the name, description, and what type of search that you want. The only thing here is we need to mention the uh, what we call the risk score, and the entities needs to be defined here. Like yeah, here the assets and the identities needs to be defined, and then at the end it will ask for the is it a finding or a intermediate finding. Where is that option? Yeah, here it will ask for is it a finding or intermediate finding. That option is shown up here. Yeah, yeah, that's about ES8 new features and the AI assistant. How can we use that? Okay, let me stop sharing. Mm, Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Teja, for answering all the questions that we got in the chat. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. Like, if you have any questions, you can reach out to our bitsIO. So we're happy to help you. Okay, let me stop recording.